two things here. I want to stay on these. Hong Kong and Taiwan. Okay, so even for again, without assuming people's knowledge, Hong Kong is part of China. It's not part of what we would consider mainland China up until 1999. It was part of the British Empire, at which point it was handed over, I think, after 100 Years' War. We're now seeing the thumb of communism drop down, which is what we're hearing about those democratic protests in Hong Kong. At the same time, China's infiltrating the South China Seas, and they're now reminding, in their opinion, rather, Taiwan that they are not an independent country, that they are owned by China. Let's just talk about those two things exclusively.
Sure.
What's happening in Hong Kong, and why is this news now? This seems to have only come up in the last couple of years with Taiwan and the argument of independence.
Look, it's really simple about Hong Kong. It's because China feels it doesn't have to keep to the deal it made with Britain. Okay. It was a convenience. The two system, one country fallacy was Hong Kong will be part of China, but it will have its own special conditions, its own legal system. People will be able to be, free to a greater extent. There'll be capitalism. People will be able to make money and get rich. There'll be their own passport system. It will be the window to the world. China doesn't need that window anymore, but China is also sending a very strong message. When the ordinary people, especially the young people, the yellow umbrellas, the young people who were, demonstrators, activists, we're talking about people who were not necessarily radical in any traditional sense. They just wanted freedom and they wanted it now. China just closed down the parliament in terms of changing the rules. You had to be pre-selected. You had to be approved to stand for parliament. You had a new security law, which meant if you said Hong Kong should have more freedom or should have the different system to the mainland, all of a sudden you could go to jail.
So we continued to have free elections, but the people putting up them had to be pre-approved.
All the things we take for granted. Judges who aren't members of the party, lawyers who will, seek to protect your rights, a civil service that's not corrupt and is efficient, a system where there is private property and there is money making and there's that veneer of Western life. That's all now gone. Hundreds of thousands of people are leaving Hong Kong. Some people left at the very beginning after the handover. Others stayed, hoping to believe in the two system, one country deal. That deal's now been junked, just been thrown away.
And where do you think we are with that now? Is it within a period of 2 years?
I think Hong Kong in 2 years' time will look worse than Shanghai. It will look like a regional city in China with disappearances, with no press freedom, with one-party rule, and it will be a sullen, unhappy place that will look back and go, we used to be the capitalist tiger in East Asia, and now we're no longer that important. This has all come out because there's a big message to Taiwan. Look at what we did. If we could do this to Hong Kong, and it's full of very wealthy people, and it's full of lots of strategic economic assets, that says that mainland China is prepared to fight the long game and get its own way in Taiwan.
Perfect.
And that's really ugly.
So they're demonstrating that they're going to push out any form of liberal democracy left in Hong Kong, and you're saying they're using this as effectively as a media example to Taiwan to say you're next. So what I want to understand.
It's like saying I've beaten up the kid.
Correct.
Around the corner. I'm coming for you.
All right. So what do you think that fundamentally means? Where are we at with this? Taiwan, as far as the Western world is concerned, is an independent nation. countries that are lining up with China are siding with them and saying that they are a protectorate or subservient or satellite state of China. What happens next? Where are we going with this?
Okay, what happens next is the West has got to ask itself the question, is the deal in the 1970s when the People's Republic of China, the communist regime run out of Beijing, convinced the world that there is a one China policy? That's how they got themselves the seat at the United Nations in the Security Council, one of the 5 permanents. Red China said there is one China only, and they parked the issue of Taiwan in the corner. Now, Taiwan, that produces about 20% of the world's semiconductors and absolutely critical, it's a bit like with Saudi Arabia and oil, it's with high tech. Taiwan is a liberal, pluralistic, free, LGBT friendly, you name it. It's a classic showcase democracy. It's not perfect by any means, but it's a country full of hardworking, well-educated, freedom.
It is a
people.
beacon of freedom as far as we're concerned. It is.
But the majority 50 years ago said, oh, we sort of feel quite Chinese. The clear majority of people who live in Taiwan now, the absolute clear majority, say we are Taiwanese, we are independent.
Okay.
They have lived there for several generations, even if they escaped from the Civil War in the 1940s to get to Taiwan. A lot of people have lived there for hundreds of years in Taiwan. It's a society that has its own sense of freedom, its own sense of identity. And Western countries got to grapple with the idea that they can't just have an economic office or a business office and recognize it as a trading player. They've got to say one China policy is now no longer valid. They've got to look at Taiwan and say it smells like a democracy, it feels like a democracy, it has all the hallmarks of a democracy. We're a democracy, we will recognize it as a sovereign country.
So again,
that's a very critical red line that has to be stepped over.
So what do you think is going to happen with this is what I'm asking. Where are we, where do we go from here? Where do you think they're going to do?
Okay. If the West goes down this road, there is a real chance that China will overreact. But will the hard heads of the People's Liberation Army be able to stop any super aggressive overreaction? You've got the possibility of a boycott or a maritime exercise to try to blockade Taiwan. You've got investment, economic power by China, and there's always the possibility China could damage Taiwan militarily sufficiently to make it look like they could invade and get a toehold. But the reality is Taiwan has a strong military, a strong sense of national independence, and it has a political leadership that do not want to be subjugated by Beijing. It's getting ugly that Western countries have got to side on the, with the people that share their values. Because what does it say if we just let Taiwan go? It is a very big failure of Western interests. Because then what happens to China saying to Vietnam, we fought a border war with you after the Vietnam War. We want some territory. No one's going to protect you. America's not going to do anything. Let's take a slice of your country. What's Vietnam going to do? So, the chips are really down now. I think the next couple of years, we will see as close to a war-like environment where miscalculations and really, risky behavior is going to be seen as quite natural and normal,
Okay.
which is not good. It's not good for the economy, not good for society.